It's not every day that you watch a film that sort of touches your heart, makes you want to pick up the phone and call your friends, makes you want to tell everybody you have to watch this sweet little film that somebody's made. And then when the question is, who is this somebody who's made this film? And you take the name of Kiran Rao, who's sitting here next to me. Kiran, welcome to India today.
Thank you, Tushar.
I have to say that if it wasn't Lapata Ladies, I would have said Lapata Kiran for a while because we missed you at the cinemas. And I think this is sort of a compensation in a very long time overdue to get you back in theaters. Just tell me, in all of these years that you were reading things, you were watching movies, you were traveling, you were living your life, what has been your guiding compass for films since Dhobi Ghat? Has it changed? Has it evolved? And how has it evolved?
Oh, that's a really interesting question. Yeah, because being Lapata wasn't part of the plan. I was, like every filmmaker wanted a film out at least every couple of years, and I was working towards all these dream projects that I still have sitting in the, now they're cooking at various stages of development, but it just nothing came together in quite the right way. But I think the guiding compass, now that you make me think about it, is really, making films is a lot of effort. It takes more than a village, honestly, to make a film. And you really want to be making something at the end of the day that you feel satisfied with and you feel was worth it, in a way that when you're speaking to so many people, you're doing something of value for more than just yourself. It's a story that you're interested in. Sure, you have to be interested in it. It has to work for you. But do you think there's something that can have some sort of, lasting impression on people? I think every filmmaker hopes for that. And I think that was my compass, because though I had stories that I loved and I was very keen to tell, I didn't think that they were at the place where I could share them with a big audience. So that was really the compass. And when this sort of came my way, I was like, boom,
Yeah.
It was so instinctively the right second film for me.
Tell me, as somebody who's very hungry for enriching stories, for characters, right, that you get completely engrossed in, like we did with these two girls and then everybody on the periphery, then there is an industry that you're a part of that works on trends, right? Everybody wants to jump on a bandwagon. There's a romantic film that does well, everybody's getting in. That South films do well, oh, Bollywood is shutting down, South is doing well. Every 3 months there's a trend. We talk about it, we ask you that question. As an observer and as a bystander to all these trends come and go, how have you managed to sort of keep your foundation so strong and not fall into these traps?
I suppose it's really what you want to do. If you're in it for the business of it, in a sense, I suppose you're looking very much to what an audience wants to see or what is deemed successful. And luckily for me, I've been associated with Aamir Khan Productions that has never used that as a sort of the guiding metric, that, oh, this is the kind of film, the formula that sells. I think one thing that doesn't change is that audiences genuinely enjoy stories that challenge them, interest them, surprise them, make them laugh, or touch them deeply, And while we are kind of like looking at it zoomed out and saying, oh, action thrillers work, or whatever, romantic comedies are working right now, etc. I think audiences don't really think like that. There are fan bases for each kind of genre, perhaps, but a good story, I think, trumps everything. People will come out if they feel like, there's something here that I want to see. And I think that's what both Aamir as a producer believes in, and I certainly believe in as a director and producer.
How often does Kiran watch movies? Like, how often do you watch popular mainstream films that come to screens on a Friday? And if there's a film that has sort of made you feel like, oh, I wish I got this script, I got to be on that narration table when this came to me. Is there a title that you really enjoyed?
I think the last big, kind of popular film that I really enjoyed was Gully Boy. And I really felt like, oh, I wish I had got a story like that. That's a really great story. It's a world that I would have loved to make, and I think Zoya did an amazing job. I don't go out to the cinema for every Friday for a film, honestly. I watch a lot of stuff streaming, but I do go to the cinemas. For instance, for the last time I went was for Past Lives. I like international cinema. I do like Indian films, and because of the post-production of this film, I've missed a whole bunch of films that I plan to watch. starting from Pathan and ending now at 12th Fail, which I'm really keen to see also. But I genuinely love the cinema experience, and so actually more recently I went to the cinema to see Anatomy of a Fall. So I feel like the cinema gives you, I don't know, it makes every film better, honestly, than it would in your home where you'd be tempted to turn it off. You'd still in a cinema, you know, sort of watch it to the end, even if it's not entirely your cup of tea. And that's, I think, because it was designed to be a collective experience, you know, and I'm really happy that people are coming back to cinemas. I can feel like people are looking to, you know, have that experience more and more. And with the success of 12th Fail, you can see that it's not like people are only turning out to see big stars or big action.
I want you to watch 12th Fail because perhaps after that we could have a longer conversation. I drew a lot of parallels between that and Lapata Ladies for the simple reason that at the core of it, it's the story of human emotion. It's the story of underdogs. It's the story of you just wanting to sort of push through and make it through till the end, right? Like with the case of these two girls, such diverse lives that they lead. And then I don't want to give away spoilers, but it's a roller coaster ride that you sort of jump on throughout the film. Talk to me a bit about finding these girls, because that must have been so important, right? To get
that
the correct.
That really was. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, you have to take that leap into this kind of satire that it could happen, that two girls could get swapped on a train, and you have to buy this world, really. And for that, apart from physically that the two girls needed to be the same height and structure roughly, because otherwise how would you, you know, sort of mistake them for each other, for the other. It was important that they be great actors and in some way embody this. One is Phool, who is really innocent, and the other is Pushpa, who's kind of shady. We did really wide casting. We wanted to look for faces that sort of embody the character, but also people that would fit very seamlessly into like 2001 India, rural India, you know. It's tricky because it's also you know, in India we have so many different kinds of amazing talent, and we just literally wanted these girls, even without your knowing anything about the film, these two faces that would really embody these roles. And actually Nitanshi came to the role, who plays Phool, very early. I mean, I saw her test quite early on. We were casting during just after the second wave, so around the second wave. So you know, all of this was sent to me on tape, and for the longest time I hadn't met any of them. And Nitanshi was just super natural because she's also is a young girl, innocent, but also curious, and you know, so she was, you know, very quickly we locked on her, and then the search was on for Pushpa. And honestly, it took me a while to find Pratibha, because once there's a quality that you need, a chameleon-like quality you need for Pushpa, and it was something a little intangible that we were looking for, because you don't know whether to trust her, but you can't. She's not a villain. You don't want to hate her. So it was great. Once we found her and we did readings, it was lovely. But she was the harder one to cast, and and the language was a little bit harder for her because she's not from Central. She's from Himachal. But interestingly, her story actually mirrors that of Pushpa Rani quite a lot, and I don't want to give anything away, but once you see the film, it's interesting to know that that girls, you know, have very similar stories, including the lead who's playing the role, you know. Wow. So yeah, it was a really fun casting process, honestly.
You know, also what's interesting is that the title could be such a metaphor if you look at the larger context. Just the word Lapata, that feeling of not knowing where you are, being lost in a crowd, being in a room but still feeling alone, a feeling that all of us feel. Just a human emotion. We push that to the back so many times in our daily conversations. Mental health right now is taking the forefront in such an important topic, and I'm so glad that people are coming out and speaking. You know, in an industry which is not only just so competitive, sometimes it could get toxic and it could sort of push you to boundaries where you feel that there's no hope. Then you find a story like this, which sort of is the other end of the prism and spectrum. Just for anybody who's watching this, perhaps is in the industry, is battling with something like that on a daily basis, to find work, to find of go to that producer, you know, knock that door and find it open, have 65 auditions and then still do the 66th audition. what would you say to them? Because you see all this so up close and personal, right?
I do, and actually, honestly, it breaks my heart because there's so many people, really, really talented, very interesting faces, and great, range of kinds of performance that are out there. But it's often the case that we rely on the same one group of people to cast, and it can be very disheartening for an actor because it's really not genuinely not. It's getting that first break and then pushing through with that and fitting the role, being in the right place at the right time, knowing the right people. And I would just say, honestly, find things that that you can do other than, honestly, this is a weird thing to say, but find other ways to hone your craft other than waiting for a role. I mean, obviously, all of them are constantly doing auditions. I realize that that's the only way you can keep your career going, and that's great because my film is a case in as an example where we've cast almost everybody you wouldn't have seen before. You wouldn't, apart from Chaya Kadam, Ravi Kishan, Geeta Agarwal. There are few people you'd know, but another Lapata Ladies will come along. So, but while you're waiting for that, do a bunch of other things that keep you immersed in your craft, keep you excited about performance. And I greatly recommend theatre, stand-up, poetry, doing stuff with your own circle of friends, whether it's making a short on an iPhone. It gets very tiring to keep trying to fit other people's and tick someone else's box. Yeah. So find a spot which makes you happy, whether you're ticking someone else's box or not,
Yeah. That's a good one to take home, actually. That's a good one to keep. Aamir made a very interesting commentary the other day. He said, I'm looking for age-appropriate roles, and I'm not wanting to rush into anything. I'm okay to take my own time, which is such a cool thing to say, right? Because in an industry that absolutely is dominated by Khan's say what may come, box office, trade numbers, bloodline of the industry, then for him to having said that, topics like these, like pay disparity, just the age gap between an actor and an actress, things like these, industry perhaps shies away from speaking. You are an active producer, you have your own production house now, and you're, I'm guessing, excited to talk about all those scripts which you have with you, which perhaps in the next few months, years, we will get to see. How are you going to tread and navigate all of this? Like I asked you at the start, right? What has been your guiding compass? What is your compass in these areas? Like, you want to make sure that then you're not succumbing to the pressures and the peer pressures and the society pressures of conforming to these norms, because that's what you're trying to break, even with a film like this.
I guess when you're a huge star, it's really hard to sort of give up that part of your, like, that spotlight that you're in, and also producers or the market is so dependent on the stardom. So it's really, like you said, it's great that Aamir thinks like this. It's not easy for anybody who's kind of taken it for granted that, look, I'm only going to be, at the center of all of this, to give that up. So, I mean, obviously I have no advice for stars. They'll find a way to, transition into whatever phase in their lives. And honestly, there's roles. My only take on it is that we don't actually, it'll be very exciting now. We have, this older generation of actors as well, including, say, Anil Kapoor or Jackie Shroff, or, a whole bunch of actors from different age groups who are doing very exciting work. And there's it, as writers, as filmmakers, we're looking for interesting, older characters as well. If you see my film, I mean, Chaya Kadam is a lot younger than what she's playing. My ideal would have been a woman whom I could have cast at that age. We just could not find, we searched a lot, and there was a couple of actors whom I, actually not so much actors, a dancer and people that I was trying to cast. But we are always looking for people at different, in a different age group. So I think for filmmakers, it just becomes much more exciting if we have that range of actors in that age group, and we can cast more age appropriately, or we are also casting queer people for queer roles, or trans people for trans roles, rather than try to cast big stars in every kind of role, so it just makes it believable. It opens up your casting potential, like your films become more diverse. We're able, and I think it's happening, whether we like it or not. The OTT is doing it. The fact that we have, the South and Hindi films and all kinds of films now have, it's all, it's sort of broadened and flattened out really. And people are not necessarily only watching a film for a star. They're watching a film for a story, really. Which is what I feel like, that is a broad trend that we should take away. It's that the audience now just wants a good story. They're watching things from everywhere. They're watching, Korean dramas, Turkish dramas, American films, British whodunits, they're watching everything. So I think there's space for a lot of different kinds of people to be working in the industry, and I really I'm excited about doing that in my own films, like in having that in my own films.
No, you're right. It's a great time to be a filmmaker. You're right. I also like the fact that you said that, Aamir doesn't have to be a part of everything I make. There is this sort of a cloud looming over one's head when that happens. As just two creative people, what kind of conversations do you have? Because day in and day out, you must have scripts sent to the two of you. Then how do you take a call to perhaps, okay, this looks like a film that goes organically with what you want to make. And then this seems like a more larger setup that perhaps we are looking at from the broader perspective. And two is, would you go to a Salman or a Shah Rukh tomorrow if your script demands? Like, would you also want to cast people who are then the superstars and the A-listers, as we call them? Because the script demands it, not because...
Yeah, sure. I mean, to answer the second part first, of course, I would love to work with, A-listers. And honestly, there's a lot of talent there, and I'm sure they'd be happy to do something unusual if it makes sort of sense to them. So yeah, I'm fully open to that. Maybe someday I'll have like songs and where people are sort of doing choreographed dance numbers. That's one of those that I have to tick off.
Yeah, you must. I already have that visual.
Cars flying through the air, some major action. I plan to do all of it.
Go for it.
Yeah. Ask me this question like 5 years hence and I might change my answer. But yeah, but Aamir and I, you're right. I mean, we do talk work a lot. I mean, that's a big common ground that we share. And the good thing is we depend a lot on each other for sort of advice, creative advice. And whatever I do, I kind of run it by him. Just because, I mean, I feel like he has a sort of creative compass that I rely on a lot. Often he doesn't agree with me, but that helps me clarify why I want to do it. And often he does agree with me and we're good, but also it's something that we enjoy, sort of as two people who've worked together for like 1.5 decades. So it's a good space, honestly. I have my own production house now, but I'm always going to be involved with AKP in anything that we do because, emotionally and sort of, creatively, I'm always excited by what Aamir Khan Productions does. So I will be involved, but I've started a small sort of creative lab called Kindling Pictures. And the idea is really to be incubating my own stories and testing my own ideas that I've been developing for a long time. Hoping that like I can get some stuff made in the next, decade.
Wow. But I like the fact that I just like the name Kindling, first of all. Let me just say that I think it just sounds really cool on the ear.
It's so weird because I was thinking of what to call it and I was like, it's all about ideas. It's, it's kindling, the verb is to kindle something. But it also is a noun. It means the raw material that starts the fire, the dry leaves, the wood.
Wow.
So it's also a noun.
Kindling.
And I was like, you know what? Actually, when I started, the idea was I wanted something in my name that would have kind in it. So it was a weird, the kind ling, kind of like that part is, anyway, sorry.
Genius.
Backstory.
No, but I'm just curious to know that, we've seen Lapata Ladies and I really wanted to come out and people to watch it because that's the best feeling to have, right? But then in the future, going ahead, what can we expect from Kindling? Like what are the kind of stories that you will veer towards? What if somebody wants to submit something to you? Like what's a one-liner that perhaps you would pick up and say, yeah, this sounds interesting?
There's no formula. We're developing a whole bunch of things from sort of, detective, murder genre to literally like a subversion of the Saas Bahu genre. We're doing a dark sort of not thriller but suspenseful Delhi film. So there's a whole. I mean, we're doing a lot of different kinds of things. But I think the guiding principle is to kind of do work that makes us sort of see, experience different kinds of characters, different worlds, also in some way understand the world we are living in perhaps, but in a way that's also fun and like draws you in and makes these compelling stories and characters. We always, at least for me, it's the characters that sort of lead any story. It's plot is, which is why Lapata was so unusual. I couldn't have written it. It's like such a crazy plot hook.
Absolutely.
But when I write, I kind of start with characters that interest me. So there'll be a bunch of different kinds of things. I'm also producing for other young people who are making stuff. So
trippy. Let's go with it. I like this. I like that. You said Delhi, and it gets me to the fact that Delhi Belly is such an underrated gem. It was so ahead of our times. If it comes out, like say now, becomes a cult classic, right? Like I know so many of my friends who keep rewatching it. And the fact that we just have Imran back now, like on the cover, and just like, just with his charm and his personality. Talk to me a bit about that, just having Imran back. Like, it's so cool. Right?
I'm really, really excited for him because it's also a great time to be coming back. There's so many opportunities. It's a whole world of different kinds of work being made, and he's unlike anybody else. He has such a unique personality, a unique look. So I'm very excited to see what he's going to do, and I really wish him all the very best. I'm just really, really fond of him.
Yeah, we are all very stoked for Imran to come back. That's true. I have to leave you by asking, there was a comment that a friend of mine made when she walked out of the room, and she's like, I know the internet is going crazy with animal and all of that, but look at this film. This is a great answer to that. For anybody who has an opinion and could be polarized, it's all right. Social media is all for conversation, right? But you watch Lapata Ladies. Now that's another take on anything that anybody wants to say. So why not? You have two different refreshing point of views. You pick up the spoon and plate that you want to have and eat, right? Do you feel that conversation is now so, perhaps when people watch Lapata Ladies, this point will come up, that this POV and this perspective of women who also face that subversive nature are dominated, and then they come out strong in their own way, but not because they have to, but because they feel like they need to. It's such a cool way. You haven't like shoved it down our throats like with a gun to our head, like you have to adhere to what they're saying. It just feels so organic, right? They're two polarizing points of views.
I really think there's space for all kinds of films, honestly, and I'm really excited for people to watch this because it's not like what I've said in it hasn't been said before. There's lots there that and you've seen. But hopefully, like you said, it's a refreshing take, and I think there's space for all these conversations, and films that engender conversations are honestly, to my mind, really doing their job, because sure, we want escapism, we want entertainment, but I feel like while we have that, can we also, leave someone with some sort of lasting impression or spark an idea somewhere. So I feel like there's space for everyone, and I'm hoping to have found a little space. I hope to find a little space in the audience's attention.
Absolutely. I think I started with Lapata Kiran, and I think she's not only found herself, but we found her. We found a new Kiran, and we're not letting you go. We need to be on this hot seat sooner than later. And congratulations on the film. It's such a beautiful treat for us.
Thank you.
Please keep doing you, and please keep giving these movies to us.